I threw the champagne glass against the marble wall and watched it shatter into 1,000 glittering pieces. 21 days. 21 days of silence. And this is what it had come to me. Zainab Okoi, standing in a $12 million Korean mansion, destroying expensive crystal because my husband had turned our home into a cemetery for living people. The emerald dress I wore cost more than my mother's house back in Lagos. The diamond earrings. A wedding gift from a man who now communicated with me through his personal assistant. I caught my reflection in the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking Seongnam's glittering skyline and barely recognized myself. When did I become this woman? When did I start measuring my worth in the weight of jewelry and the square footage of my loneliness? Mrs. Kong, shall I call for clean-up? Minseo, the head housekeeper, appeared in the doorway with that perfectly neutral expression they all wore. Like Switzerland. Like she hadn't just heard me lose my mind. No, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Leave it. I want him to see it. Her eyes flickered with something surprise, maybe approval before she bowed and disappeared. That's how we all communicated in this house now. Through silences. Through carefully chosen absences. Through shadowed glass that spoke louder than words. I heard his footsteps before I saw him. Kong Ji-won didn't walk, he commanded space with every movement. The east wing door opened, and there he was, 6 feet of expensive suit and colder eyes, standing in the hallway that separated our bedrooms like the DMZ separated his country. You're still here, he said. Not a question. An accusation? Where else would I be? I turned to face him fully, letting him see the dress, the jewelry, the defiance in my posture. Oh, wait. You probably hoped I'd be at that university reunion by now. Out of your hair, out of your sight, out of your perfectly controlled world. His jaw tightened. That was the only tell Ji-won ever gave, that tiny muscle movement that said I'd struck bone. I didn't say that. You haven't said anything in 3 weeks. Before I continue, if you're already hooked and you want to see how this explosive night unfolds, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell notification. Because what happens next between Zainab and Ji-won will leave you speechless. I promise you, this story goes places you won't expect. Now, back to the confrontation.
And I hated myself for it. You moved to the East Wing like I have a contagious disease. You have Minisio leave my meals outside my door like I'm quarantined. You won't even look at me when we pass in the hallway. I look at you. No, you look through me. There's a difference. He stepped over the broken glass, his Italian leather shoes crunching the fragments. For a man who'd built an empire on reading people, he was remarkably good at hiding what he felt. Or maybe that was the problem. Maybe he felt nothing at all. Why are you dressed like that? He asked. Like what? Like you're trying to be seen. The words hit like a slap. I'm your wife, Jiwon. I shouldn't have to try. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? I stepped closer, close enough to smell his cologne, that expensive French thing that used to make my stomach flip. Now it just made me angry. Say what you actually mean for once. Stop hiding behind silence and assumptions and those dead eyes you wear like armor. His hand moved, just slightly, toward me. Then stopped. Fell back to his side. That hurt worse than anything he could have said. I heard you, he said quietly. 3 weeks ago. On the phone with your friend Chioma. My heart stopped. What? You said you felt trapped. You said marrying into this family was like, he stopped, swallowed. Like being buried alive in gold. The memory hit me like cold water. That phone call. I'd been upset, overwhelmed, talking too loudly in what I thought was an empty house. But I'd been talking about feeling shut out of his world, not trapped by him. I'd been talking about how he kept me in luxury, but outside his reality, like an expensive pet he fed but never touched. You misunderstood, I whispered. Did I? His voice was razor-sharp now, all the emotion locked behind that corporate mask he wore so well. You said you didn't choose this. You said you were drowning. In your silence. I shouted. I was drowning in your silence, not our marriage. Jiwon, I was trying to tell Chioma that I needed to find a way to make you let me in, not that I wanted out. He actually froze. For a man who'd negotiated multi-billion won deals without blinking, he looked genuinely shocked. You thought. I couldn't finish the sentence. The pieces were falling into place now. each one more painful than the last. You thought I regretted marrying you. You're a brilliant woman, Zainab. You could have married anyone. You chose me, and I dragged you into this. He gestured vaguely at the opulent prison we called home. Into a world where my business partners are criminals and my family legacy is written in blood. What else was I supposed to think when I heard you say you were trapped? You were supposed to ask me. My voice broke completely now, tears streaming down my face and ruining the makeup I'd spent an hour perfecting. You were supposed to talk to me instead of disappearing. You were supposed to trust that when I married you, I knew exactly who you were. No one knows who I am. I do. I closed the distance between us, close enough now that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the fear he hid so well. I know about the Beck Consortium. I know about the Okada Alliance. I know about the internal investigation your uncle is running to find the leak in your organization. I know, Jaiwon, because I'm not blind. I'm just excluded. His face went white. Actually white. How? Your study walls are thick, but not soundproof. Your phone calls at 3 a.m. aren't as quiet as you think. And that file you keep in the false bottom of your desk? The one you think is so clever. I reached into my purse and pulled out a USB drive. I copied it 2 weeks ago. If you're enjoying this story and want to see how this explosive confrontation ends, make sure you stay until the very end. Trust me, you won't see what's coming. And if you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because this channel delivers stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat every single time. For a long moment, he just stared at the USB drive in my hand like it was a grenade. Then he did something I'd never seen Kang Jaiwon do in 3 years of marriage. He laughed. Not a happy laugh. A broken one. You could have used that, he said. You could have taken that information to the prosecutors, gotten immunity, gotten out clean while I went to prison. Is that what you think of me? I don't know what to think anymore. He reached out, finally, and took the USB drive from my hand. His fingers brushed mine, and I felt him tremble. I've spent 3 weeks trying to figure out how to let you go. How to set you free from this life before it destroys you like it's destroyed everyone else I've ever cared about. I don't want to be set free. You should. Stop telling me what I should want. I grabbed his lapels, forcing him to look at me. I'm Nigerian, Jaiwon. Do you know what my grandmother survived? The war, the coups, the corruption that killed my grandfather? My family doesn't run from hard things. We don't abandon people we love just because love gets complicated. This isn't complicated. It's dangerous. Then be dangerous with me, not to me. I pulled him closer, close enough that our foreheads almost touched. Stop protecting me from your world and start letting me stand beside you in it. I didn't marry you to be kept safe in a gilded cage. I married you to be your partner. Partners share everything, he said roughly. And there are things in my world, Zainab, things I've done. I know what you've done. I cut him off. I know about the Incheon deal. I know about the prosecutor you bought. I know about the rival who disappeared last year and why no one ever found his body. His eyes went dark with something like horror, but I didn't stop. And I chose you anyway. Not in spite of who you are, but because of it. Because you're also the man who built schools in neighborhoods no one else cares about. The man who paid for Mrs. Park's daughter's cancer treatment without her ever knowing. The man who cried at our wedding when you thought no one was watching. How did you? Your mother told me. Before she died, she told me everything. She said you needed someone who could love all of you, not just the parts you show the world. I finally let the tears fall freely. So stop showing me the door and start showing me the truth. He kissed me then. Not gently. Not carefully. He kissed me like a drowning man reaching for air, his hands in my hair, crushing me against him like he was trying to merge our bodies into one. I tasted salt, his tears or mine, I couldn't tell, and felt 3 weeks of ice melting between us. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. The Beck Consortium is making a move, he whispered. Next week. They're planning to frame me for the Weizong money laundering case. The evidence is already planted. My own uncle is in on it, he's the leak. If they succeed, I'll spend the next 20 years in prison, and everything I've built will be absorbed into their empire. Then we stop them. You said partners share everything. I straightened his tie, trying to gather the pieces of my composure. So share the plan. Tell me what you need. I need you safe. No. I stepped back, my voice firm now. You need me smart. You need me strategic. And you need me standing beside you when the Beck Consortium realizes they've underestimated Kang Jaewon's wife. Something shifted in his expression. The fear was still there, but now there was something else. Hope, maybe. Or recognition. You really want this? He asked. You really want into this world? Because once you're in, Zainab, there's no going back. No pretending you didn't know. No claiming innocence if everything falls apart. I stopped pretending 3 weeks ago when I copied that file. I picked up my purse, checking my lipstick in the compact mirror. Now, are you going to tell me the plan, or do I have to steal more USB drives to figure it out myself? For the first time in 21 days, my husband smiled. Really smiled. Your university reunion, he said. Kim Sung-hoon will be there. The prosecutor handling the Waesong case. He thinks you're just a pretty foreigner who married rich, someone who knows nothing about her husband's business. Let me guess. He's on the Beck payroll. Has been for 3 years. And he's arrogant enough to drink too much at social events and brag about his cases. Jaewon pulled out his phone, showing me a photo of a middle-aged man with weak eyes. If you went to that reunion, if you played the role of the naive wife worried about her husband's legal troubles, he might tell me things he shouldn't. I understood immediately. Things we could use to prove the evidence was planted. Things that would connect him to the Beck Consortium. It's dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. I checked my reflection one more time. The emerald dress that had felt like armor when I put it on now felt like camouflage. How do you want me to play it? We spent the next hour strategizing. Jaewon showed me files, explained connections, drew diagrams of who owed what to whom in the labyrinth of Korean corporate crime. He told me about the recording device his tech team had developed, small enough to hide in an earring but powerful enough to capture confession-quality audio. He warned me about Prosecutor Kim's patterns, how he got handsy after his 3rd whiskey, how he loved to impress beautiful women with insider information. If he touches you, Jaewon started, his voice tight. He won't. Not in a way that matters. I put my hand on his cheek. I can handle a drunk prosecutor, Jaewon. I've handled worse at Lagos parties, trust me. This isn't Lagos. If the Beck Consortium realizes what you're doing, they won't. Because they've made the same mistake you almost made. I kissed him softly. They've underestimated me. The reunion was at a hotel in Itaewon, neutral territory where expats and Koreans mixed freely. I arrived exactly 15 minutes late, fashionable but not suspicious, and made sure to work the room before approaching my target. Old classmates, superficial conversations, lots of laughter and air kisses. Playing the part. Prosecutor Kim arrived an hour in, already flushed with alcohol from wherever he'd pre-gamed. I watched him scan the room with entitled eyes, looking for prey. Mrs. Kang. My old roommate Seoyeon grabbed my arm, loud enough to attract attention. I didn't know you were coming. Is your husband here? Perfect setup. I let my smile falter just slightly. No, he's working late. As always. Trouble in paradise? She was drunk enough to be tactless. Nothing serious, I said, but I let my voice carry just enough uncertainty. Just some business stress. You know how it is. I felt Prosecutor Kim's attention lock onto me like a missile. Predators always recognized vulnerability. Zainab Okoye Kang, he said, appearing beside me with practiced smoothness. I've heard so much about you. Your husband and I have had occasion to speak about various legal matters. Oh, I let concern flash across my face. Should I be worried? Not at all, he said, but his smile suggested otherwise. Though between you and me, your husband keeps some interesting company. Sometimes I wonder if he tells you everything about his business dealings. He tells me he's stressed lately. Something about a case in Waesong. I said it innocently, like I barely understood what I was saying. His eyes lit up. Gotcha. The Waesong situation is quite serious, he said, steering me toward the bar. Can I buy you a drink? I'd hate for you to worry unnecessarily about things you don't understand. 3 whiskeys later, for him, I'd been nursing the same champagne all night. Prosecutor Kim was explaining the case against my husband in detail. How the evidence had been discovered anonymously. How certain bank accounts had been linked to Jaiwon through meticulous investigation. How the prosecutor's office was confident they had an airtight case. But between you and me, he said, leaning closer, his breath reeking of liquor, sometimes evidence appears because someone wants it to appear. Sometimes powerful people decide who succeeds and who fails. You mean someone planted it? I let my eyes widen. But that's illegal. He laughed. Welcome to Korea, Mrs. Kang. Justice serves whoever pays the highest price. And let's just say the Beck Consortium pays very well for services rendered. The recording device in my earring captured every word. I got home at midnight to find Jaiwon pacing the living room like a caged tiger. He grabbed me the second I walked in, checking me over like I might be broken. Did he touch you? Nothing I couldn't handle. I pulled out my phone, connecting to a secure network, uploading the recording. But he did confess to everything. Evidence tampering, accepting bribes, conspiracy with the Beck Consortium to frame you. All recorded in crystal clear audio. Jaiwon listened to the playback, his expression going from tense to shocked to something like awe. When it finished, he looked at me like he'd never seen me before. You did it, he whispered. You actually did it. Did you doubt me? Never. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. I'm sorry. For the silence. For the distance. For almost losing us, because I was too afraid to let you in. Don't apologize. Just promise me we never do that again. I looked up at him. No more separate wings. No more silence. No more protecting each other into loneliness. I promise. He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my lips. Partners. Partners. We spent that night planning the counterattack. With Prosecutor Kim's confession, we had leverage. Enough to flip him against the Beck Consortium, enough to expose the planted evidence, enough to turn the trap they'd set for Jaiwon back on themselves. It would be dangerous. It would be complicated. But for the first time in 3 weeks, we faced it together. Dawn was breaking over Seongnam when we finally fell into bed, exhausted but connected in a way we hadn't been since the silence began. Jaiwon pulled me close, his lips against my hair. I love you, he said. I don't say it enough, but I do. I love you, Zainab. I know, I whispered back. I've always known. How? Because love doesn't hide in silence. It breaks through it. 3 days later, we executed the plan. Prosecutor Kim, faced with evidence of his corruption and the promise of reduced charges if he cooperated, turned state's witness against the Beck Consortium. The case against Jaiwon collapsed. The investigation turned toward the real criminals, including Jaiwon's uncle, who was arrested trying to flee to Singapore. The Beck Consortium's empire began to crumble. But the night before the final arrests were made, Jaiwon's phone rang at 3 a.m. He answered it with his business voice, but I saw his face go pale in the darkness. What is it? I whispered. He hung up slowly, his hand trembling slightly as he set the phone down. That was Park Hyun-woo, my security chief. His voice was flat, emotionless, the tone he used when things were very, very bad. Someone leaked your involvement in taking down Prosecutor Kim. The Beck Consortium knows you're the one who recorded him. My blood went cold. How? They have people everywhere. We knew this was possible. He turned to face me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Real fear. Zainab, they've put a price on your head. 5 billion won. Dead or alive. The room spun. 5 billion won. Almost $4 million US. That kind of money would attract every mercenary, every desperate criminal, every person willing to kill for a payday in all of Korea. What do we do? I asked, proud that my voice didn't shake. Jaiwon was already moving, pulling clothes from the closet, throwing things into a bag. We disappear. Tonight. I have safe houses they don't know about, new identities prepared. We can be out of Korea in 6 hours if we leave now. And then what? We run forever. We run until they're all in prison or dead. However long that takes. I watched him pack with efficient desperation, this powerful man reduced to throwing clothes in a bag to save the woman he loved. Something crystallized in my mind then. A choice. Maybe the most important choice of my life. No, I said quietly. He stopped. What? No, we don't run. I stood up, meeting his eyes. We end this. Zainab, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I took the bag from his hands, set it down. The Beck Consortium expects us to run. They expect fear. They expect you to do exactly what you're doing right now, try to protect me by putting distance between me and danger. Because that's the smart play. No. I grabbed his face, forcing him to focus. The smart play is using me as bait. His eyes went wide with horror. Absolutely not. Listen to me. They want me dead. They've announced it to the world. But what if instead of hiding, I become visible? What if I go on television, do an interview, tell my story about exposing corruption? Make myself such a public figure that killing me would create an international incident. You'd still be a target. But a target they can't touch without massive consequences. And while they're watching me, figuring out how to get to me without causing a scene, you and your team take them apart from the inside. I smiled grimly. They've underestimated me twice now. Let's make it 3 times. Let's make it fatal. Jaewon stared at me for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he smiled. That dangerous smile I'd fallen in love with 3 years ago. You're insane, he said. I'm Nigerian, I corrected. It's different. You're absolutely insane, and I love you more than anything in this world. He kissed me hard. Are you sure about this? No, but I'm sure about us. I kissed him back. So let's finish what we started. Together. What happened next? Did our risky plan work, or did we become victims of our own game? If you want to find out what happens when Zainab faces the Beck Consortium head-on, you need to let me know in the comments. Should I continue this story? Drop a fire if you want part 2. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning of Zainab and Jaewon's war. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Like this video if you're Team Zainab and comment below what you think she should do next. Will she survive going public? Will the Beck Consortium strike first? The next chapter is coming soon, but only if you show me you want it. This is where I leave you right on the edge. Subscribe now because the fall is going to be spectacular.